After many months with little news, the Steam page for Muv-Luv Tactics is finally up, with the game set to launch in 2027, well past the earlier estimate of spring 2026 that series staff gave late last year. With the launch of the Steam page, they've also released a brand new trailer for the game, unveiling some interesting details surrounding it. For instance, from a story standpoint, there's parts of the preview that look straight up like they were out of the image boards for Muv-Luv Integrate. And from a release standpoint, as they had alluded to at the time of the game's crowdfunding campaign, Tactics will indeed simul-release in Japanese, English, and Chinese. Speaking of which, the final English translation for the game's subtitle is Kalidasa at Nightmare. An interesting translation, to say the least. Now, if we're excluding the gacha games and Project Mihail, Kalidasa at Nightmare would notably be the first new Muv-Luv game in a decade. The last time we properly got new content of the series was back in 2017 with a Kimi ga Nozomu Muv-Luv fan disc, and before that, it was Schwarzesmarken Parts 1 and 2 in 2015 and 2016, which were still in large part adaptations. So it's certainly been a while since we've gotten a completely new story out of a non-mobile Muv-Luv game, and based on what I've seen from Tactics so far, I'm cautiously hopeful. A tactical RPG Muv-Luv game is certainly an interesting concept, but I'll have to wait to play the game for myself before I get too excited. It's supposed to be a completely standalone story in a beta-verse timeline distinct from that of Alternative or TDA, and the way they position it is as a game that's friendly towards newcomers, yet also good for longtime fans. A good move for profitability. But even beyond that, Muv-Luv Tactics has an interesting key role within the future of the Muv-Luv IP. Whether or not their current plans with the IP continue is all dependent on the performance of and player feedback from Kalidasa at Nightmare. At first, their original plans were to make all three of Resonative, Duty Lost Arcadia, and Integrate as full-length visual novels, the same way the series had historically been up to the point of their announcements. However, with the passage of time and the change in market conditions, Anchor increasingly got to a point wherein they determined that it was impossible to profitably make those three games as visual novels, especially given their action-heavy content. So several years back, they had put development on all three of those projects to a complete hold. And in 2024, they announced Muv-Luv Tactics as an attempt to restart development on the series by making something more gameplay-heavy, more cost-effective, and more profitable. And their ultimate idea was to turn Muv-Luv into a visual novel SRPG hybrid series, starting off with Kalidasa at Nightmare as a test run. If it does well, then Resonative, Duty Lost Arcadia, and Integrate will likely proceed with development as their own hybrid games as well. Personally, I would have rather seen the three aforementioned games as pure visual novels. I'm not opposed to the idea of the series turning to SRPG visual novel hybrids, so long as the end result games are good. If the story is good and the tactical RPG elements work well, then I'm all for it. But there is one thing that some people seem to be a little bit concerned about: AI-generated assets. Take this information with a grain of salt, since I was not a crowdfund backer myself, but from what people have told me, supposedly crowdfund backer builds of Muv-Luv Tactics had lots of AI art within the game, seemingly as placeholders until they could replace it with human-drawn art. Apparently in the backer builds, all of the non-main character artwork is AI generated. But even some of what we see in the recently released trailer looks a little bit uncanny and like it could have been AI assisted. I don't want to jump the gun too much, but based on Anchor's historical track record with exploring the use of AI generated or AI assisted content, I wouldn't put it past them to still use some of it even in the final version of Muv-Luv Tactics. My hope is that they don't. I can understand the rationale behind using placeholder AI assets to streamline development, but if they are using AI-generated assets, they need to replace them as soon as possible. But given that we see seemingly AI-generated art even in the screenshots of the Steam store page, it is not a good sign. For now, we wait until 2027 when the game is actually out. But on a separate note, barely a day after this announcement, Anchor had announced an English and Chinese Steam release for Muv-Luv Girls Garden, their latest ongoing gacha game. And I'm honestly quite surprised. No prior Muv-Luv gacha game ever received an English localization, and this announcement comes less than a year after the Japanese launch. Perhaps Anchor having been sold by Avex to DMM, and the game having been published on DMM Games, played a significant part in this turn of events. DMM's involvement with Girls Garden is seemingly why Shirevune is one of the game's publishers. For the time being, they have not announced an 18+ version of the localization or a release on iOS or Android, but given that Shirevune is publishing, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get the 18+ version at least, somehow. We'll just have to wait and see. It's supposed to release in Q4 2026, which isn't too far down the line. In the meantime, I'll keep you posted as more developments within the series continue to arise. Perhaps they may have some announcements on October 22nd, or later on in December for Comiket. I would sure love to hear an announcement for an English Schwarzesmarken release. But separately later down the line, I might make a few think pieces related to the Ajverse, though I still think my values are often too different from that of a lot of Western Muv-Luv fans. But in any case, I'll leave you all until next time. Bossman out.